Okay, the date was February 8th, 1992, 2:21 a.m. to be exact, in a hospital in the suburbs of Chicago, Illinois, when my parents gave birth to a little baby boy. That's me. They had dreamed of having a son ever since they had gotten married, and their wish had finally been granted. I spent my infanthood ripening up in various addresses in the outskirts of the big town until we finally found the right one to call home, a cozy little house on an uncrowded street. And then it burned down. So, thanks to a hungry squirrel who made his meal out of some wires in our attic, we were forced to move in with my grandmother. Anyway, we had to get back on our feet, but our options were limited. After some thought, my parents had an idea. My father had spent some time as a truck driver in the past, and an opportunity had arose for him to go back on the road. So when I was about 4 years old, my mother and I piled into the semi with him, complete with bunk beds, and spent the next 2 years traveling the entire country, moving furniture for people. Our home was the truck and the occasional hotel room. With all the extra cash flow from having no bills, I got to live an extremely privileged life, going to theme parks, amusement parks, and zoos as often as we were going to the bathroom. I was also gifted with anything I ever wanted, so no complaints there. When we were driving, though, I had to dig deep to find ways to entertain myself. When I wasn't grilling my parents about explaining every single billboard and road sign we passed, I was watching movie after movie on a small TV in the back, and began to develop what would become a fiery passion for film and movie making. I also gained a strong craving for exploration and adventure, for by the time I was 6, I had been to every single state in the continental US. Unfortunately, the party was over as it was time for me to start school. So we parked the truck, but instead of returning to Illinois, we settled down in a small town in Tennessee among my mom's family, in an apartment that was attached to a convenience store. Always the quick learner, I started kindergarten strong, and by the time I was in 1st grade, the teachers were considering transferring me to 3rd. But I just continued being a star student with straight A's, awards and recognition for my reading skills, and I was even a tutor to a couple of kids. Around the time I was 8 years old, my parents decided to build a brand new house from the ground up. It took a year, but then we had our own place we could call home. When I was in the 4th grade, I met a girl named Bethany. With so much in common, we instantly clicked and became best friends. And also, to fill the void of having no siblings, my parents got me my own dog, a pit bull named Rocky, and he became more of a brother to me than most humans could. Beginning the first stages of puberty, I began noticing a lot of changes, mostly in my mind. I had always been different from most of the boys, but now it was more than that. After dabbling in puppy love with various girls and finding no satisfaction in it, I realized that I was attracted to boys. Of course, I was completely shocked and rejected the idea and covered it up with continuing to date girls, but toying with our hearts finally caught up with me when a girlfriend I was with for nearly a year dumped me like a hot potato, and that was the first clue that I got that the world is truly an evil place. Also around this time was my first sexual attempt with a boy, but that was completely awkward and disastrous. So anyway, I graduated elementary school and began high school. I struggled intensely in this new cutthroat environment and adopted a quiet personality as a result. This was only worsened by the fact that the boy I had messed around with was now telling people that we had fooled around, which put a huge target on my back. I began getting verbally attacked by dozens of people. I found drawings of me on bathroom stalls, and rumors of my sexuality were on everyone's lips. So again, I began dating any girls that would have me just to cover my ass. I was so hurt by the bullying and so unhappy with living a double life that I became a straight-up, hardcore emo. I turned to self-harm and suicidal thoughts and pumped myself full of alcohol and pills just to make it through the school days. My self-confidence was completely non-existent, and I began starving myself and throwing up what I did eat to try to force my body into a size I was happy with. I started resenting school, and my grades began plummeting, and I even ended up failing a class and had to repeat it. The only thing that kept my mind off of destroying myself was the arts. I began reading again, I started writing stories and songs, of course watching movies like crazy, and I even started YouTubing and making my own little movies. With the weight of the world on my back, I finally came out to Bethany, who of course supported me 100%. In sophomore year, I was dating a girl whose cousin I was friends with. After spending some time with him, he came out, and soon our sleepovers began ending with a little more than just sleep. I broke up with the girl and asked the guy out, and I was rejected. Forced back into depression, I returned to my old ways. Then I came out to all of my friends and was wondering if it was the right decision when I found my first boyfriend. We fell pretty deeply in love and stayed together for a year. When we broke up, I was devastated. I cried for months and was completely over life. But then something sparked inside of me. I was sick and tired of wasting my life being miserable, and I chose to change. I turned to my friends and family and became closer with everyone and built a strong support system. After we graduated, Bethany and I were spending almost every day together, and every time we were apart, we were talking on the phone. So she began living with me. As an only child whose parents never really understood him, living with someone I could tell anything to and share the same interests as me was one of the best things that ever happened to me. Life was great, but I still had one thing to accomplish: coming out to my family. After taking some time to build up the courage, I finally did. And though the first few days were pretty damn awkward, it eventually became one of the best decisions I'd ever made. My parents treated me no differently, and I was finally 100% free. One day I found myself watching a show called RuPaul's Drag Race. Being someone who was always jealous of fabulous women's clothing and wanting to wear them, I was totally blown away that you could actually get away with it. I began researching anything and everything about drag and took a complete nosedive into the community. I played a woman in a movie I made with my friends, and then advanced to attempting to paint my face and prancing around in tutus at midnight showings of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Sadly, a lot of expensive things had happened over the last couple of years. I totaled 2 cars, I broke my hand, I had to have some dental work done, and the new car payments and medical bills piled up a little too quickly, forcing my parents to file bankruptcy. And as a result, we had to leave our home behind and move to a new house. After being out of school for a few years, I finally decided to go to college. I went for a year and majored in communications, and I loved it, but then decided to take some time off to focus on work and making money. Even though now, on the other side of 3 failed jobs, I've pretty much struck out at the moment. At the beginning of summer of 2012, a new LGBT bar opened in my area. I eagerly ran to it and took the opportunity to audition as a drag queen. I got in and began performing every weekend for 6 months. During this time, I discovered that I loved drag more than I even knew I could. Not only was it an exciting and rewarding hobby, but it was an art that I flourished in, and I brought the fun and self-confidence it gave me back into my personal life as a boy. I began a new YouTubing channel, and I offered my creativity and expression to anyone in the world with the internet. Then, to my devastation, the bar closed down and my performing days had been halted. However, nothing was going to stop me. My YouTube channel had begun to get a lot of attention, and to my surprise, I had gained fans. So I decided to put all 110% into my videos and entertain to the best of my ability. And now, here we are. I am 21 years old, live with my parents, best friend, and Rocky, of course, in a small town in West Tennessee. I may be poor and unemployed, but I have one fierce hobby and a fiery determination. I want to use drag to entertain and break down the barriers of sexuality and homophobia. I want to move to a big city where I've got easier access to creativity and opportunity, and I'm still just that little excited boy that just hopes to make movies. There is no guarantee of success for me, and nothing is promised in life. And if anyone knows that life isn't fair, it's me. But I will never stop following my dreams, and I will never stop doing whatever it takes to make the most out of life. And I thank you with all of my heart for supporting me on my adventure. Stay strong and stay happy. I love you.